King David wrote these words. And by the way, people will use King David as an example of how God uses flawed leaders.
That is true. Links will be down in the description. I will stop and start. Yes, people will use that because King David was a flawed man. And God can use, if God didn't use flawed men, he'd use no one. The only man who's ever walked this earth who was not flawed, you guessed it, Jesus Christ the Lord. Let's keep listening to old Derwin Gray here.
After King David had sinned with Bathsheba, killed her husband, he never led Israel again, y'all.
That's an absolute lie. Most biblical scholars, that is an absolute lie. Most of the research that you can do, you will find that there were about 19 years between the sin with Bathsheba and his death, and David's death. And then why was there an uprising with Absalom if David wasn't reigning? If David wasn't reigning, there was no need for Absalom to rise up against him. Your father, the king, is a wise man, is a man of war. He will not. Oh, he was still king. And this man is a pastor.
God forgave him, but he didn't lead again. Do you understand that? Oh, forgiveness is free, but leadership and the responsibility of it is not. Hello?
This goes to a larger point that people just accept whatever comes from a pulpit. I am not one of those types. There are things that I disagree with from pulpits quite often. Just because someone's standing in the pulpit does not mean that they're always right, or that they have studied the thing to the nth degree, or that they are logically consistent. Your job is to sit there and to listen to what is being presented and examine it based on the scriptures. You should not be... that when he said that, your alarm bell should have been going off. That's not true. Because I know my word. That is absolutely not true. Now, here's the thing. You may not challenge him on it. I don't challenge. When I hear some things that I don't agree with, you will rarely, if ever, hear me challenge the person who's preaching the sermon. Because as long as it's not heretical, I don't care. Preach whatever you want. It ain't going to affect me none, because I'm teaching my family what to believe and how to mind things from the scriptures themselves. I don't need people like this to tell me what thus saith the Lord. I mean, I do it because I need to be in fellowship with other believers. But if he's wrong, he's wrong. I don't care what his position is.
Have mercy on me, O God, because of your unfailing love. They're going to be brothers and sisters of yours.
Now, this is where the meat of it comes in. He's going to start, and we're going to speed this up just a little bit so we're not spending too much time on it. But this is where he does the perfectly balanced sermon that all of generally the black preachers, if they're in churches where people could be one or the other, this is where they'll do the middle ground fallacy, where you can vote for either one. Let's see how he does it.
I don't agree with everything with Donald Trump, but there are some policies I do agree with, and I'm going to vote for him. That doesn't mean they're racist. Doesn't mean they're evil. There's going to be people who go, I'm going to vote for Vice President Harris. I don't agree with everything she does, but here's some things I do agree with. You do know that that's possible, right?
That's possible, but is it biblically consistent? Is it honoring Christ Jesus the Lord? That's the question. 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, and voting comes under that, right? Do all to the glory of God. So are you voting for God's glory? And do you have a clear understanding of what God's purpose is for government? Can you go to the scriptures and find out whether or not God wants the government taking from its citizens? Or when God tells the Israelites that when you set up a king, he's going to take the best of your lands and this and all these other, and your sons and daughters, and turn them into soldiers and do these things. And he's going to, because you're rejecting me, here's the things that the king is going to do. And it wasn't a good thing that he was going to do that. So is it a good thing that government does those types of things? Thou shalt not steal. Well, unless you're doing it to help the least of these. Again, you've got to be able to ask these questions, right? What's the government's purpose and function? And am I voting for a party or a person who represents what God's purpose is for government. See, God's purposes for government will not cause the people to be in abject sin. They're not going to logically what so oh well I'm pro-choice. So God hates thou shalt not delete. No, we're just going to avoid that one. Anyway,
Like, just because you don't agree with everything. Like, I don't agree that President Trump said, I'm not going to do a national ban on abortion. I don't agree with that. I believe that life in the womb is sacred, but I also believe that life outside of the womb is sacred too. I don't agree with the states being able to choose whether if abortion is legal or not. I believe it's life. Now, on the flip side, men, this is for us. If we would be protecting women and honoring women, they wouldn't feel this, well, this is my body and I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Yes, it is your body.
Nah, I'm sorry, bro, but nope. You're not gonna put that on men. The fact that women want to do that is not on us. Women can sin of their own volition. Sorry, nope, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. You're not gonna put that on men that these women want to lay with and have hot girl summers and then choose to use abortion as birth control. Oh, now it's the man's fault. So everything falls back on us because women are out here choosing to sin. Oh, they don't feel protected. Get up under the covering of a man. Stop laying with Pookies and Ray Rays. Guess what? It'll be your husband's job to protect you. How many wives you know are going to Planned Parenthood? See, this is not cool. And there are people who actually think that this man is somehow wise. This is stupid.
Body, but there's another body inside of your body. But here's the problem though. When we're not loving people, we feel this insensate desire to be pulled to the left or to the right versus going, wow, let's take a step back. And let's think about being wonderfully and fearfully made. But let's also think about, why is it in Europe, if you have a baby, you get 9 months off?
This ain't Europe. Okay? So it may be a good idea, but it's the employer's job to decide that, not the government. The government shouldn't decide that if you get pregnant, you should have 9 months off. That's not the government's job. If a company decides to do that, that's on them, but it should not be federally mandated. That is not the government's responsibility. But here's the crazy thing. Even in the Bible, women didn't get 9 months off after having a baby. Like, that's crazy. These people can't even think their way biblically. This man is a pastor of a church. I would call it an SBC franchise, but it's a church. People call it a church.
What would happen if new parents had free health care? What would happen?
Free health. So this is the thing. This is what they believe is caring for people outside of the womb, is not having to work, free health care. That's what they believe. Free health care is not a right. You do not have the right to someone else's labor. Health care requires the labor of others. Work, your husband, if you have a husband who is providing, you should be able to afford health care. But the Affordable Health Care Act made health care unaffordable for those who actually want to work unless you have this is like these people. I don't understand, because you're going to get, these sermons are happening all over the place, the balanced sermons right now. Oh, you got to be a kingdom citizen, you can't be one or the other. Oh, you got to be right down the middle. Oh, you got to be middle ground fallacy. That's not, no, choose a side. Choose a side. There's a side that is trying to destroy, that is trying to delete children, that is trying to change boys into girls, that is trying to get us in all types of wars, that is trying to continue to flood the nation with criminals and illegals so that they can swing elections to them, so that they can have power. That just keep looking. They want an unsecure. They want more wars. They want all of these things. Keep looking. Just keep your eyes open. You shouldn't be, as a Christian, you should not find it easy to vote for them. They're always lying. They're cosplaying. They're pandering to the lowest common denominator.
if they had insurance? What if we did some other things as well as say life in the womb
Like
is
what?
sacred? Why do we have to go?
Give them stuff. That's what they want. The stuff. The stuff is supposed to be how you show love. Give them the stuff. Now, here's the thing. If churches wanted to do this from charitable means, that's great. Because that's what the church's responsibility is. The government is not a charitable organization. That is not its primary function. But because he doesn't understand that, and it's crazy that as a pastor, he doesn't get this. He can't go to any text and actually find the government doing the things that he's talking about, or that God prescribes the government to do the things that he's talking
Bonkers with it, because there's people in power who want to divide us, not to actually think and to love and to have real solutions. But
here's the problem. The problem is this. And they use men like you to soothe the consciences of those people who want to vote for fetus deletion. Oh, it's just another issue on the ballot. This is
what we don't want to do is be bullied by people. How can you vote for Donald Trump? You see the way this man talks. You see his insurrection and his own vice president won't.
You notice how all of the things that he's talking about are Trump related. He hasn't said anything about Kamala Harris yet. His hand is played.
Even support him. And you're going to vote for him. Well, some people may want to. And you know what? In America, they got the right to do that. With Vice President Harris. Can you believe she did this and the borders and this and this? By the way, to be fair, I'm going to talk about this more next week. I remember in the 80s, because I grew up in San Antonio, Republicans talking about the border. I remember.
See, nothing's wrong with Kamala. Nothing. You notice that nothing's wrong with her. He hedges his discussion about her with, oh, it's a bipartisan problem.
For Bill Clinton, Democrat, talking about the border. I remember President Obama talking about the border. I remember President Donald Trump put legislation in place for the border. Democrats wouldn't sign it. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden put a package together for the border, and Republicans wouldn't sign it.
Oh, he just got us. Oh, now talk about all the stuff that was in there in that border bill for other funding for other things. You're not going to talk about that, right? You're not going to make, I got y'all. The nonsensical arguments coming from these pulpits today, it's almost like you just like, at some point, you're just like, whatever. You just let it wash over you. Like, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be until the Lord wipes the slate clean with some of these fools.
And yours truly has been to the U.S. Capitol, and I've talked to both sides of the aisle. I had a senator tell me, I ain't get invited to nothing else no more. I had a senator tell me, I'm telling all the business, I'm telling it all. I had a senator tell me, Derwin, this ain't happening until the other side gives us this. And I'm like, I'm going home. I'm gonna go make disciples. I'm gonna go reach people, because human beings are not political footballs to be tossed around for agendas. I've been there. I got pictures and everything. King David.
Yeah, anyway, that was funny and cute, but if you came from this sermon, or what would you have gotten out of this sermon? That it's okay to vote for either side. That all of the things that the progressives want, and they're showing their hand, are a-okay for a Christian to say, you know what? I like the fact that the government might give money to this venture that I like. So I'm going to, if the price of that is dead fetuses, I think God would be good with that. I think he'd be good with my decision there. I don't think there'd be anything that God would find objectionable about that. Not at all, right? The redefinition of man and woman, the redefinition of marriage. I think God would be fine with all that, as long as my grandma ain't got to pay more than $35 for her insulin. I think that's a fair trade-off, don't you think, Lord? Till next time, be on the alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. See y'all around. Hopefully, I never see y'all around his church. Bye.